Hey everybody, this is Fernando from the Rollback Podcast, and I know what you're thinking, where has this guy been? Or you may not have been thinking that, but whatever. I took a little bit of time off, but I'm back. Obviously this isn't a rewind, this is more of a retrospective. For today's episode, I'm gonna be just kind of talking about the end of Supernatural. It's pretty crazy that it ended. I don't know about you all, but I never followed it from the very beginning. It wasn't something that I watched when it first came out. I had one day, I believe this was around when season 9 came out, that I started following pretty much episode by episode. When season 9 came out, I kind of started following along with it. One day, like pretty much, I'm sure a lot of you, you saw it on Netflix, and you ended up binging it. And it's crazy to see like where they went from season 1 to season 15. Mostly because not many shows get 15 seasons, especially cable shows. So let's talk about it. For me, I don't know about you all, but I say the peak of this show, the absolute peak, was around season 4. Season 4, season 5. Those 2 seasons for me were the peak of that show. Because it kind of really, let's be honest here, there's a reason why Eric Kripke left after season 5, because he told the story that he wanted to tell. And it wasn't his story anymore. Season 4 and season 5, we finally see the culmination of where Sam and Dean went as characters. You see where they went as two brothers who have lost touch with each other, and now they're kind of thrust back together in a do or die moment when their father dies, and they have to save the world. Because no one else will. And it all stemmed from not simple, but from a very personal problem of their mom being killed by Yellow Eyes, the demon. And yeah, I was thinking about it, because, while I love the show for me is incredibly rewatchable. Turn on any episode, you can pretty much watch it. And it's funny because when you see people get into it, they kind of have the same thought process. But yeah, like, for me, season 4 and season 5 were just the peak. Dean comes back from hell. We finally get the introduction of angels. We get the introduction of the devil. We get the introduction of the archangels, things of that sort. No God. We don't really see God until... not until like season 12, I believe. I want to say it's season 12, but yeah, like that was the peak of the show, because you could really tell like that's where they wanted to end the show. So season 4 and season 5 for me are the peaks. Season 1 is very enjoyable. Season 2, very enjoyable. Season 3, I feel like is kind of like the unsung hero, because I love Season 3. Season 3 for me is very well done. The thing I love the most about it is just the storyline. Dean sells his soul to basically bring back Sam, and they're really just trying to figure out how to save Dean, and in the end, it doesn't matter. He ends up going to hell. But for me, Season 3's definitely one of my favorites. And yeah, then you get after season 5, after the devil's been defeated and sent back to the cage, Sam goes with him. Their brother Adam goes with them, who's being possessed by the archangel Michael. And that's it. Dean goes off to live his life and basically be a normal person. He doesn't even hunt. Yeah, he doesn't even hunt. And yeah, he just lives his life. And that's where things for me begin to get a little wonky. Season 6, that's where you start to see the introduction of more of the beast side, vampires, werewolves, ghouls, jinn, pretty much all that beast that they deal with in the show. That's when they start getting their shining moment. The whole season has to deal with opening up Purgatory, and then so on and so forth. Season 7 deals with the release of the Leviathan, who were God's ancient creatures. Season 8 deals with the falling of the angels, I believe. But yeah, like, this show just really went in so many different directions after season 5. It was kind of, I think after season 5, they were just like, what direction can we go in? What can we explore? And eventually, it just got to the point where they just really couldn't find anything else to explore. They really exhausted all avenues of this show. I thought when they started getting into alternate realities, that's when I was like, okay, they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here, because, man, there's just nothing left to do. And so I believe the later seasons, starting around like season 8, season 9, that's when they start to suffer from what pretty much all long-lasting shows begin to suffer from. They begin to suffer from campiness and things of that sort. What I mean by campiness is that the way that the shows would start, like if it was like starting with a werewolf or something like that, the nonchalant characters you meet that really lead you into the show are super like dopey, and next thing you know, like they get eaten or something of that sort. But yeah, it's like you start to see that in the later seasons. I never understood as to why that is a thing, because another show that I fell in love with because of Netflix, and then started following because of Netflix, was Bones. I loved Bones when it came out. And it's funny because that happened in Bones as well. It had a really solid, like, five season run, and then the beginning started to get really campy and things of that sort. It doesn't make it bad, especially if you're a fan. But yeah, you could tell like there's just a different feeling to it. With this show, it doesn't really hurt it. Mostly because I think the appeal of this show is that you get pretty locked in from the first seasons, and then for me, I kind of started losing interest, unfortunately, around season 12, season 13, with the introduction of the alternate realities, things of that sort. Like, that's where I was just like, I don't know, man, like, I kind of wanted to end already. By the way, in this episode, I'm going to be talking about the series finale, like what happens at the end. So this is just a spoiler warning for those who are listening. But yeah, like, it is pretty strange that, and what's even funnier is that this show is, I believe this is the last show that started on the WB. And then when they transferred over to the CW, this show came along with it. But no, like, what this show did, it had strong writing. Regardless if it's a little wonky, things like that, it was still able to tell a really clear story. And for fans of this show, they stayed fans. It's funny, like, when you meet fans of this show, because they range from all ages, and I'm pretty sure, like, so what I want to say right now is that if it wasn't, I'm really curious, is that if it wasn't for Netflix, would this show have as big of a following as it did? Because, let's be honest here, Breaking Bad got a way bigger following when they put all the seasons on Netflix right before the last season. Bones got another big bump because they put all the seasons on Netflix. at the time, and then it continued so on and so forth. And I want to say this show as well. And then they striked up. Let's go with striked. They striked up a deal with Netflix, CW, that after the season was over, I think it's like 2 weeks after a season is over for any of the CW shows, they put the entire thing on Netflix, which, great deal. And yeah, like, holy shit, this show ran for 15 seasons. For me, these characters are very memorable, very likable. And it's funny because I think for as long as they are ever going to be known, Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki are always going to be synonymous with this show, along with the guy who plays Castiel, along with the guy who plays Bobby Singer. Pretty much every character on this show, I'm pretty sure, is going to just get recognized right out the gate for this show. One of my favorite characters that got killed off, spoiler warning, just throwing this out there, if you haven't finished the show, I know maybe some of you haven't, but spoiler warning in 3, 2, 1, Crowley. Man, Crowley was just a good fucking character, a good villain, and it was really sad to see him go. The Devil was okay. Like, I wasn't a big fan of the Devil as a villain. Some of the main villains were okay. Lilith was okay. The Devil was okay. The main Leviathan, he was alright, I mean, for that season, I guess. God was a pretty good character. But, I mean, man, if I had to say the number one villain for this show, I'd have to say it's Crowley. Crowley, for me, did work. I think another unsung villain for the show was Meg. Meg was a really good villain as well. She also had that turncoat moment along with Crowley, where they were bad, but, you know, they still helped out the good guys every once in a while. Abaddon. Let's go with Abaddon. She was okay, kind of forgettable, to be honest. The only thing that she really did was she was get killed by the First Blade, and then First Blade led into the Darkness being revealed. The Darkness wasn't really that big of a character as well. Kane, he wasn't that big of a villain. He only came out in like a couple episodes, and that was pretty much it. But I'd say probably the biggest main villains of the show were Crowley, Lilith, Meg, and the Devil. I'd say those are the pretty biggest ones. And later on, spoiler alert, God ends up being the final villain. At this point, I already said spoiler alert like so many times, so I'm sorry if you're still listening. Let's talk about like these last seasons, the ending ones. We get the introduction of the Devil's Son, where he's not bad. He ends up being turned into a good guy. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name right now, but yeah, he ends up being a good guy. He's being pretty much the little brother to Sam and Dean that they never had. You see Castiel be put into the spotlight. Castiel is one of my favorite additions to the show from season 4 on. You really see his character change from this uptight angel to this angel who understands what it's like to be a human. I thought Castiel was probably the best main addition to this show. Like for good. Like, this was the best addition they could have done. And it proved fruitful. You really saw Castiel grow in this show. And I think, for me, the thing I love most about this show is the fact that all the cast have a really good relationship with each other. Because it is rare to see. Not all shows have a good cast that mesh together. And it's always nice to see that it's not bullshit. Like, what you see on the screen isn't just, we're just going to rely on today and then that's it. Like, no, these people were friends. They were genuine friends. You see that in the countless videos of Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki talking about the shit that they would get into during shooting. But yeah, like, for me, that's always one of the biggest selling points for this show. As far as I'm concerned, the last seasons, while they weren't the strongest, they were okay. We saw the introduction or the reintroduction of Mary, the mom of Sam and Dean, which I was a little iffy about. I think the one character that I felt could have really been put to use, but just I guess there just was a lot of scheduling conflicts, maybe money conflicts, was James Dean? No, not James Dean. Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the dad. I feel like that one was the biggest missed opportunity. I was happy when they brought him back for the 300th episode. But yeah, I feel like we should have gotten Jeffrey Dean Morgan back in the show. The death of Bobby was also hard. I'm sorry if I keep trailing back to the previous stuff. I know I was going to talk about the later seasons. But yeah, the death of Bobby was pretty... man, that was a tough death. And it was in season 7. Like, that was just rough. Because he was probably one of the best characters on the show. And then for them to kill him off, like, at the halfway point, like, holy shit. But yeah, those later seasons when they started getting into alternate realities, they brought back Bobby from the alternate reality world. They were okay. Again, like, it's just... But yeah, at that point, man, you had to just be a fan because it got a little rough at the end. That last season, it was okay. The first thing we deal with is the death of Rowena. And then pretty much it's just Sam and Dean versus the world at this point because God does not have their back anymore at this point. Apparently God has been quite bored. He created all these alternate realities and hated every single one of them. And the only one that he liked was the one with Sam and Dean in it. He only liked that one. He liked them as characters because God was a storyteller. And yeah, you pretty much just see Sam and Dean on their last ride. From the beginning of the season, I knew that there was just really one ending to this show. Or two endings. Let's go with two endings. First, they both die. Second, one of them dies. And then the other one is left to pick up the pieces. I mean, that's pretty much the only logical thing that could happen. I was right about one of it at least. That last episode after God is killed, Michael is killed, the devil is killed. We see Sam and Dean go and take out a vampire nest, and in that moment, Dean gets taken out. We see Sam finally say goodbye to Dean for the final time. He gives him his hunter's burial, and he goes on about his life. He goes and he has a family, he has a son, and he names him Dean, and he lives his life. And while Sam is living his life, Dean is in heaven visiting all his old friends that have died. And, you know, I don't know how I feel about this ending. Do I think they could have done better? I really do. I really do think that they could have done better. But do I think it was a horrible ending? No. I thought Bones was one of the shows that ended on a pretty bad note. I thought that last season they really shit the bed on like what was going to be the new baddie for that season. But no, I thought even though it wasn't the greatest ending, I really did like Supernatural. I really did like that the characters went out on their own terms. While you didn't see the last episode dealing with the death of God and things of that sort. You did get to see an end to the brothers, and I think we all kind of knew that Dean was going to be killed. It was always his life. Hunting was going to lead one way for him, and that was pretty much it. For Sam never wanted this life. Sam just wanted to be normal, and he just kind of got thrust into this life when he lost someone that he loved. But, I mean, as far as endings go, no, I don't think this was a bad ending. Do I think it could have been better? Of course. But we'll see down the line on how well this ending holds up. I really do think this ending will hold up down the line. But as far as for right now, I do think this show ended on a really good note. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, for this show to last 15 seasons, it's pretty fucking remarkable. Especially in this day and age. And there will never be another show like it. That's a fact. The age of TV shows is kind of withering at this point. Let's be honest, the biggest shows right now aren't even on TV anymore. What's the biggest show on TV right now? Grey's Anatomy. That's pretty much it. No other show really holds itself to that highest regard. But it seems like streaming has taken over the TV game. And we'll see what comes out of it. But yeah, that's it, everybody. This is Fernando. Back here at the Rollback. This is not a Wednesday Rewind. I will figure out what I'm going to do for this coming Wednesday Rewind. But for now, this is what you get. You get a Supernatural retrospective. I want to say thank you to everybody who's listening here at the Rollback. Please check out our Facebook page. Below you're going to find our link tree that leads to our Facebook page, or our website, or YouTube, or Google, or iTunes, everything. Eddie's bank account. You could steal his money for all I care. But yeah, this is Fernando from the motherfucking Rollback. Cut it.